Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video from Enya, and just through the way she is and her music, we looked at the flow of our lives. So I trust you found that one an encouragement. Well, we're going from there to a guy that was born in Dublin. Not quite sure of the exact year of birth here, but given his first album was in 1999, probably early 1980s, late 1970s, somewhere around there. And the guy we're talking about is Eoghan Heaslip. Now, it's not a guy you may have heard of, but certainly in the way that the way he lives his life and what he believes and the way he goes around singing about what he believes, he's certainly found some resonance with the world, because between 1999 and 2010, he's released 5 albums, and some of those have been live. Now, the song I want to talk to you about is all about this thing called wisdom. Now, when you think about wisdom, what do you think it is? Do you think it's just someone who's, you imagine this old guy or old woman and they're sitting there and sprouting things that can get, and you think, oh yeah, that's kind of makes sense. Yeah, there's some really, really wise words there, and it's really, really cool. Well, as we'll get on to in a minute with Owen's song, we talk about where wisdom potentially comes from. But I wonder, if we think about wisdom, I think maybe wisdom, and don't look at me by the way, I'm not very wise at times. So I think this is one of these elusive things that we all strive to get better at. But I think wisdom is basically someone who is absolutely completely independent. Someone who looks at the betterment of humankind, or the betterment of humanity, or the betterment of wherever they may be, and speaks to that without any bias, without any of that sort of stuff at all. That is wisdom. And wisdom is sort of one of those things where everyone who's listening will sort of just stop what they're doing, pause for a moment and contemplate what has been said. Wisdom often doesn't come as a first statement or at the beginning conversation. Wisdom may come after there's been a bit of listening for a while and picking up the vibe and nuances on the conversation, and to breathe into the conversation some life-giving words. I often wonder whether this sort of language even exists in the world. I'm sure it does in some place here and there, but I really wonder whether it really exists, because I'm wondering whether we as human beings can really put our biases on hold, in a sense put ourselves on hold and our opinions on hold for the betterment of the situation you may find yourself in. I'm wondering whether we can really do that, really, if we go to the deep down in the very center of who we are, the where we can put our biases on hold and be completely present with the situation we're in, and to speak the words of life that the conversation may need. There can be wise words that are said, like, you find yourself in conversation with somebody else, and they, at the end of the conversation, they think, man, I just really needed to hear those words. I feel so much clearer now about where I'm going. Because wisdom isn't necessarily just like, okay, you just do what you want to do and that's all fine. Wisdom sometimes may need to speak into a situation and say, hey, look, not quite sure about that. But it's said in such a way that the person responds and resonates with it. Wisdom is such an elusive thing these days. People who think they're wise probably aren't. I certainly aren't wise, I'm thinking. I muck up all the time. But, I'm not wise. People who say that they're wise probably aren't wise. And, if I do think of wise people, I may think of people like Gandhi, or maybe Mother Teresa, as people who just kind of were set apart somehow by who they were and the betterment of humankind. But I look for wisdom these days, and I'm not quite sure where it is. I'm sure it is out there somewhere. In fact, you might be listening to me right now thinking, well, I'm not wise at all, but maybe there's some words that you've got, some life that you can impart through your words that actually will make a difference in someone's life. I think wisdom sometimes comes in small doses. We may have just the right word at the right time, but to have a life, a culture of wisdom, that's something that's a bit elusive for me, I'm thinking, and something I'm trying to become better at. Now, when Owen talks about wisdom, he talks about his faith here. He talks about God only wise. Now, just stay with me here as I talk about this stuff because I've got you back here. Really, what he is proposing here is that God who loves this world, sent his son to this world. He didn't just sort of hang back and let the world go for it. He actually sent his son to this world. His son was around for only short space of time, but he revealed God's heart to us. And the heart was very much a one of looking out for other people, for caring for other people, and for making a difference in people's lives. I mean, one of the great stories I love of God is the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan, he doesn't like go around looking for people to help on the side of the road. He just sees this guy, someone who normally he would hate because of the culture at the time, but he decides to help him. But he doesn't kind of put his life on hold and say, oh, I'm going to just... He puts him up in an inn, goes off and does his business, gives the innkeeper money, then comes back. I think there's something quite wise about that. There's something about having space in your life for other people. And I think that's what Jesus was saying in that particular parable. Let's always have space for other people, even if you don't get on with them that well. Because this story was very much frowned upon at the time with the people at the time. That's why Jesus said it. But the message is clear. Let's look for people who need our help along the way and breathe life into them. And of course, those opportunities often are provided by God, who will come along and say, hey, this guy just needs a bit of help. Just be there for them. So Ewan would argue that wisdom comes from God, because God truly can be non-biased when he looks at the world. He loves everybody, and he wants everybody to love him as well. And so is he the only one big enough to guide this world, particularly the way it is at the moment, because we have this thing bigger than ourselves and we're not quite sure how to deal with it. And so we think we deal with it, and something crops up and it becomes hard again. So maybe there needs to be something bigger in this world to help us through it. I suppose for me, I believe that's God, the God who lives in heaven. And as I say those words, I'm very conscious that some people won't like them, but at the same time, I'm not going to have a go at you for what you believe. So I trust you will also do the same for me. So trust. You found that encouragement, and we look at this thing called wisdom today. Just look for times, opportunities, I'm thinking, to perhaps hold our talking and to listen a bit more and see where that takes us. Well, on to the clips. So we do have God Only Wise. Came off the Wonderful Story album from 2008. Unfortunately, this is a static clip. This is just the album cover, really. And there's not really a live version, unfortunately, but it's a really, really good song, this one. I love the way this guy sings. And I also love the way that this song starts off. It just knows that we're in for something special when this song starts. And so we got that one. And then for something live from Eoghan Heaslip, we've got How Great Thou Art. Of course, is a well-loved hymn in church circles, has been around for a long, long time. And one of those songs that a lot of people have covered, including Carrie Underwood. It's just one of those hymns that has resonated with the world for some reason. So there's some really precious words in that particular song. It is a little bit churchy, so I'm going to let you know that beforehand. But there we see Eoghan Heaslip live. So the links to both of those songs are in the description below. And I've also included my last video from Enya, Which I mean, if you think about Enya and wisdom, if you think about Enya would say that wisdom, there's a flow to our lives, and when we get that flow, that's when wisdom may come. So it's kind of a flow on from the previous video today. So, and I've got, by the way, the video from her from last time. So if you want to recap on her, feel free. Well, that's it for today. Next time, we're going to go on to singer-songwriter Eric Carmen. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.